Lily was falling 10 times a day, covered in bruises. She would run just straight into a pole, right? It was a disaster. She would fall down the stairs all the time. She just could not navigate her environment. 8 weeks after starting functional mushrooms, she was assessed developmental age for physical therapy and no longer required that service.
It's Suga Snake Takes.
Hello, good people. It's another episode of Suga Snake Takes, and we're excited today to have another phenomenal guest, an amazing human being, doing a lot of amazing things, along with being a mother, a law enforcement agent, an outdoor enthusiast. And when I say mother, I say the mother of Lily, and she helped found and start the nonprofit Lily's Lighthouse. And our guest today is none other than Sarah Kate, who is here. Sarah Kate Boylan, who is here today to discuss all things about her life, what's brought her to this stage right now, but most importantly about her little daughter, Lily, that's been an inspiration to so many, us included here at UMBO. So Sarah Kate, thank you for joining us here on Suga Snake Takes.
Thank you so much, Jake. Nice to see you and nice to see Rashad. It's been a while. So I'm really excited to reconnect with you guys and be on this platform today.
Yeah, it's good to see you too. Great to see you. We met you at the MAPS conference almost a year ago here in Denver, and we knew about your story. It was exciting to get to meet you. One, just to feel your energy and your passion just for life in general, but also obviously what you're involved with Lily's Lighthouse. So I think the best way to start would just be to let you kind of explain what brought you to where you're at right now, joining us here with Lily's Lighthouse, your daughter, and everything, just to give the listeners here a chance to understand why you were at MAPS, what you were doing there, and how we've come to know each other.
Well, that's a big question, isn't it? So many facets to that one. I guess I'd probably just start by introducing myself. My name is Sarah Kate Boylan, and I'm CEO founder of a nonprofit called Lily's Lighthouse. And we're based in Southern California. And Lily's Lighthouse really came about after I found functional mushrooms for my daughter, named Lily. Lily's 10 now, and she has a diagnosis of epilepsy, and she suffered up to 50 seizures a day.
Wow.
For 7 years straight. And, I had come across mushrooms and started researching them once there was a renaissance in the conversation of psychedelics. And I was confident I would find some non-psychoactive mushrooms that could potentially just help Lily's quality of life. In saying that, we really had no intentions or foresight that it was going to give her really great seizure control, and it did. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, and I'd like to kind of expand on that. We founded Lily's Lighthouse because we found something that works for epilepsy, when we talk about epilepsy and what that looks like, I like to kind of go to the data on it and really sort of look at how many people are suffering from this condition, because it's not really a condition that's talked about a lot, right?
Yeah.
And so 1 in 26 Americans have epilepsy, and for 1/3 of those diagnosed, no available treatment option works for them. And that really is the category that Lily is put into. She's failed every mainstream available treatment option to her. And people that are put in this category, they don't do well. Their outcome, their outlook on life is not good. They're impaired cognitively, not only by the seizures, but by the pharmaceutical side effects that don't seem to control their seizures anyway. And their life expectancy is dramatically shortened. Not too many people really know this because it's not a real marketing push, but more people die from epilepsy every year than breast cancer. So it's really time that we had the conversation, you know? And so when we're talking about Lily's Lighthouse and why founding it was really important, it's that, right? It's because there's such a need in the community for these people who have exhausted every treatment option available. They need alternative therapies, right? And that's why driving a research campaign for an alternative mushroom therapeutic for the treatment of epilepsy is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. So with the mushrooms, you said that you were doing the pharmaceutical side as well. But then when did you discover that mushrooms are going to be that thing? Like how did you come to mushrooms? How did you arrive at mushrooms from trying all the pharmaceuticals to
Yeah.
arriving at the mushrooms?
Yeah, it's a good question, Rashad. You know, we tried everything with Lily. We had nothing left. She'd failed every available pharmaceutical there was. She had a VNS implant, which is essentially a pacemaker for the brain, and it's meant to regulate any electrical activity in the brain that is not normal. It's meant to break it up before it then turns into a seizure. And that actually made her extremely worse. She clustered and was having a seizure every 8 minutes, and we ended up in the emergency room. We ran out of options with her. Because okay, moving on. Before we found mushrooms with her, we were using rescue medicine to save her life 3 times a week, right? So I knew at that point we had to do something pretty drastic, that I had to go and push harder than I'd ever pushed in my life. To give you a bit of background on how I arrived at researching mushrooms, I originally am from Australia. I've spent my career in law enforcement. I have worked with countless international and domestic agencies on international jobs that have any linkage, international linkage. And I spent my focus really during my career on counterterrorism, narcotics, people smuggling, money laundering, counterfeit currency, just to name a few.
Wow.
But in the
Wow.
process, but in the process of my career, I gained the tools and skills as a trained intelligence analyst, right? Innately, I am just a problem solver. I am one that likes puzzles and problems. I didn't realize that this was going to be the biggest problem of my life that I was going to have to solve. So when this problem really arose with Lily at 5 weeks of age, she was diagnosed. Every spare second was research. You know, that's just me. That's my background. You know, I didn't care what the doctors were saying. They were saying, we'll find a pharmaceutical. I was in go mode. I was going to try, find the answer myself and come to find it. And it took me 7 years to do it. I started down the mushroom research track because there was a Renaissance discussion coming out about psychedelics. And I was excited about what research was finding on psychedelics for brain conditions, especially PTSD and bipolar. Lily has none of these conditions, but it was doing very incredible things for brain conditions per se. And Lily has a very severe brain condition, right? If you want to look at it that way. And once I had compiled my analysis of the research, I did find some intelligence gaps in the research, and I was excited to see if I could find some functional mushrooms that could just, at this point, help Lily's quality of life, right? You know, she just wasn't doing well. And so I was just trying to help her get a bit of better grasp on life. From first dose, we gave her, she went 9.5 weeks seizure-free, and then was triggered by a food. And this is a girl that was having up to 50 seizures a day for 7 years straight. I mean, can you imagine how shocked we were when we found that happened to her?
Yeah.
It was just incredible, life-changing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just being able to find the dosage. How were you able to map out the proper dosage? Were you just kind of like trial and error, giving her this and kind of seeing how she reacted to it, or?
No, nothing that I really do is trial and error. I think it's always based off some kind of previous protocol, right? And so I really piloted what I was going to do when I started mushrooms with Lily with what you just do with any pharmaceutical, right? You start at a very low dose and you titrate up and you increment slowly, right? Until you can find that therapeutic range. You know that you've failed the pharmaceutical if you push it up to the point where it can't be tolerated. So I did that with Lily. You know, she went pretty much seizure free right from first dose. I titrated up, adding extra doses with weeks in between. So I would put her on one dose, wait a week, see how that went, increment slowly. I got her to the point of a 3-dose a day regime, just because historically I've known that she's always had a very fast metabolism, and I wanted to make sure I got coverage with her. And then once I started just not really seeing any more cognitive benefits, I just stopped.
Wow. What age is Lily now, and when did you start giving her the functional mushrooms?
Lily's now 10 years old. She just turned 10 in February. We started mushrooms 3 years ago. So she's been on it a fair amount of time. She's tolerated it well. She's doing incredible. So she's had some time on it now.
With what you've gained from that, are you able to find anybody else receptive to this form of treatment for seizures? Has there been people willing to listen and curious?
You know, when we go back to the numbers and figures and you know, why having nonprofits like Lily's Lighthouse to really fund for these alternative therapies is really important. You know, there's so many families out there that have exhausted all treatment options. And, you know, when this happened to Lily, when I saw her go seizure free for 9.5 weeks and then 2.5 months after that, and then, you know, trending, you know, better than that, I knew it was my commitment. Like it was my obligation, right, to get this information out to the people that needed it and the families that were losing their loved ones. And I think my background in law enforcement really solidified my commitment to do better in the community and make a difference. And I think that really drove me to make Lily's Lighthouse happen and to ride it right the way through. You know, our mission is to fund mushroom research that will result in a mushroom therapeutic for the treatment of epilepsy. You know, and that's what I'm doing, and that's what I'm going to get done. So when we launched Lily's Lighthouse, you know, families started coming to us, Jake, right? You know, these are families that they've got no options. They're out there too. They're looking for something else because they know the likelihood of their child, their loved one surviving epilepsy if they have intractable seizures is not good, right? So, you know, out of desperation, you know, parents are looking for something to help. I didn't really do a massive marketing push. You know, I was really organically finding families through Facebook groups, social media groups. They were coming to me. These are usually the cases that have exhausted every available treatment, right? Nothing works for them. They were finding us. I was telling them what we did with Lily. They were starting their family members on functional mushrooms as well. And we've had huge amounts of anecdotal reports of seizure freedom, shorter seizures, less seizures for people of multiple seizure types, that it's getting rid of complete seizure types, right? The cognitive enhancements are just incredible, right? My kid couldn't talk before and now has a few words. Couldn't ride a bike before, riding a bike in 6 days, swimming in 3 days. I mean, it seems to work really fast, which I love. And the side effects of it are cognitive gains, which when you talk about epilepsy, that is a huge side effect of the condition, is cognitive loss, right?
So you were saying about she ate a food and it kind of triggers her seizures. What things trigger her seizures? Is it food, environment, different stimulants to the environment? And have you had to make adjustments on the dosage since you started it 3 years ago? And is she getting used to it?
No, I did wonder that, whether she would build up a tolerance to it.
Yeah.
We haven't made any adjustments for 3 years on her dosing. Once I just stopped, I just kept on with that. We haven't had any trouble with having what they call breakthrough seizures with her dosing at all. It's been consistent and fine. In talking about the triggers, this is a real thing for anyone suffering epilepsy. Lily had so many triggers that really, once she got seizure control, then we were able to really identify some of those, especially food, right? When you're talking about having 50 seizures a day, you can suspect but not really correlate, So now, for sure, we know that turkey, when she went 9.5 weeks seizure-free, it was the tryptophan from the turkey that triggered her. So now she doesn't eat turkey, which makes sense, right? Tryptophan works off the brain receptors. We know vanilla is a really huge trigger for her. We know scents are a real trigger for her. Strong perfumes, lavender especially, peppermint's another one. There's heaps of them. But in saying that, a lot of the triggers that Lily used to have, she doesn't have anymore. Somehow mushrooms have given her a better threshold to her triggers. I'll give you some examples of those. Every time I would get Lily in or out of the bath, going from hot to cold, or anytime she would come out of the ocean because she surfs, it would trigger a seizure. So that's daily, that's every day you have a bath or whatever, so that was always a trigger. Hairdryer used to trigger her, just the pitch. Lawn blowers, lawnmowers, roosters, random, I know, but real. They're just some of them that don't longer apply.
Wow.
Yeah. Travel used to be a huge problem for us, but it's not anymore, which is incredible because we're starting to get out there and, get amongst it.
I have a question about just the fact that you're saying that it seems that the mushrooms have helped Lily with the triggers and with cognitive gain. And I recall a conversation with some higher ups in the, I don't know if they're DEA, but they were pretty high up in like law enforcement when CBD was coming about and CBD was helping with seizures. And I wanted to try to follow this path. And one of the guys said, well, the CBD isn't curing the seizures, it's just masking it. What are your thoughts with like the functional mushrooms? Are they just masking the seizures, or do you think they're going in and helping balance out maybe the imbalances or something inside Lily's body that is possibly leading to the seizures? What are your thoughts there? And how do we approach getting this to more people to explain it?
I think it is repairing whatever is going on in Lily's body. I think that whatever has been blocked off in Lily's brain is starting to heal, and some of those connections have either made new connections for her, which has helped with the triggering piece of it. I feel very confident over time that, for me, epilepsy is very much about patterning, and the more seizures you have, the more the brain learns to have them. So the less that you have, and if you can repattern the brain that way, the better that you are. I think that mushrooms is definitely allowing Lily to pattern in a better trend. And I think that it's working to heal her rather than masking the actual trigger. I say that because if it was true that it was just masking it, then half the triggers that she had would still be applicable in my mind's eye. It wouldn't make sense that those things would stop triggering her, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So what has the doctor said about this? I mean, her primary care doctor has to be like dumbfounded by, how this is working over the pharmaceutical medicines.
Her original neurologist, who is a professor, he was incredibly impressed about what she looked like. He had such a relationship with her that she just wasn't doing well. And she arrived at one appointment and he saw her so impaired. And then a few months later, we had just started mushrooms, I think 8 weeks in when we saw him for the first time. So it was pretty early on the cards. She was talking more. Could navigate her environment. Okay, so that was a big thing. Before we started mushrooms with Lily, her physical therapy goal was Lily will navigate her own environment and only fall once a day. And Lily was falling 10 times a day, covered in bruises. She would run just straight into a pole, right? It was a disaster. She would fall down the stairs all the time. She just could not navigate her environment. 8 weeks after starting functional mushrooms, she was assessed developmental age for physical therapy and no longer required that service. She went from 8 weeks before starting mushrooms to not being able to stand up and having, her seizure dog is a mobility dog, right, as well, to then doing monkey bars, independently swinging on the swing, running around. I mean, just for that, her neurologist was, what's happened? Have you pulled her off all her meds? I mean, what's going on here, And so he was always very receptive to my crazy ideas and what I wanted to do with Lily and trying to think outside the box. And knew very well that they had failed in being able to treat her condition. And so were very receptive to and open to ideas. When he saw her that first time, he said that he was on his way out to retirement and that he wanted to put together a case study and have it published in medical journals. And he's still working on that now. I just checked in with him actually just recently. But yeah, he was very impressed, right, with her newfound self.
Yeah.
How receptive has like the Epilepsy Foundation or some of these leading epileptic centers, and how receptive are they to this newly rediscovered knowledge?
I think they will be really receptive once we start publishing the outcomes of our study. I think that it will be a starter for that conversation. I think that the outcomes of this study will really start the conversation about efficacy for mushrooms as a therapeutic for epilepsy, because I feel so strongly about the cases that we have got that there's no doubt in my mind that we're going to produce data that backs it up.
So have many other people suffering from epilepsy heard your story and they're trying it, and have they had the results that Lily has had?
Some of them have had better results than
Wow.
Lily. Some of them have been seizure free for 3 years, completely seizure free. Some of them, for the ones that are not completely controlled with mushrooms, they're going weeks, months in between seizures, or they're having shorter seizures and less of them, which is really great. But for a lot of people, they're doing better than Lily is on mushroom therapy. I think there's no doubt in my mind that this is such a viable option for epilepsy when you're looking at people who are less impaired by the people that are coming to Lily's Lighthouse. These are the last cases, right? Nothing
Yeah.
else worked. So when
Yeah.
you are talking about the other part of the epilepsy community, that maybe this could be a frontline treatment option, I'm excited about that.
And then the less the all the side effects. I mean, I have a couple of relatives that
Yeah.
have been on seizure meds, and it's like, great, they're seizure free, but they're just a shell of themselves, and they're sleeping all the time, and they're angry, or their stomach hurts. I mean, this just seems so remarkable to have. I always say remember or be reminded of this knowledge, because mushrooms have been around for so long. And now, as Rashad and I and Dale and Umbo and all of us are doing our part with like the Mushroom Summit and having you speak there, you're now being a conduit for this organism to like let people know. And so I wish there was a huge mushroom megaphone somehow we could just yell it and everybody would hear, but we got to get this word out when the time is right. So like, what's the steps? I mean, getting the works, the data published, getting all that done. And then, what's next for Lily's Lighthouse?
Well, this study with Unlimited Sciences and the Realm of Caring, it's a comprehensive exploration of functional mushrooms as a viable treatment for epilepsy. I think, as I was saying before, I think that this will really, once we publish the data, it will definitely be the conversational piece and the starting point, right, of proving efficacy as a viable treatment. We're taking real world cases, right, of people who have been using mushrooms already for epilepsy. And we're going to be looking at that, and we're going to be publishing that data. Not only that, but this goes back to what you were talking about, Jake, is that, we're going to be recording the changes in quality of life and cognition. And so I think people should be really excited about those pieces coming out of this study as well. What are we doing next? Good question. We're currently fundraising for our next study. We are exploring what that's going to look like and what's our next step in the process of our research campaign. We are going to not stop our research campaign until this ends in a therapeutic for epilepsy. So the road path shall be travelled. We shall see where it takes us, but we won't stop until it's done, because I think people need this.
Absolutely. Sarah, now we know that mushrooms and functional mushrooms and mushrooms in general are really known for their adaptogenic effect and their neurological effect on the body. Have any of the professionals and people with degrees in the medical sense been able to kind of figure out, like, how is this even happening?
No, because the research isn't there. I mean, I feel
Right.
like we're really scratching the surface when we're looking at research for mushrooms. I think that there will be so much more of it being done in the future. I think that we have a lot to learn still about mushrooms. I think that in a real world data setting, that collating data in these research campaigns are really important to that, right? Because I think it will allow us to identify people using mushrooms for other conditions and can potentially pinpoint a directive of where we should be going with further researching for other conditions. I think the most studied mushroom would have to be lion's mane out of the functional mushroom families. And I think that's like the sexy one right now that everybody wants to take. And that's because it's the most researched, right? So it's the most validated mushroom right now. But we all know that there's thousands of species, millions. I mean, we don't even know. They're getting found new species every day. I mean, what does that look like, right? I mean, I'm excited to learn a little bit more about these incredible mushrooms and species and what they can do for our future when it comes to medicine, because I think we are looking at a life where we need a more integrated approach. And I think people are demanding that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that leads me to like I read a few things where, you know, not all mushrooms are the same. Not all mushroom companies are producing the same quality or the same potency. And so people listening, you know, like, yeah, do your research, you know, make sure you ask the questions and dig and find those companies that are doing the right thing. And, you know, as we all kind of are connected in here today through our work with Charlotte's Web, at least me and Dell, and then connecting with Rashad and Heather Jackson and Real McCaring. I remember doing work with Charlotte's Web and CBD and like thinking, wow, if we can't call it medicine publicly, but it's obviously medicine for our body. We got to make sure we do this right. Like we have to make sure we're growing it correctly with no toxins and nothing, and make sure we're bringing to the people the best possible quality product we can. And that's why I loved working with Charlotte's Web and now being in the industry with Umbo, with my farm, again, having this opportunity. It's just so exciting to know that there's, like you said, that what are we going to find out? There's just so much to find out, and we can't move any faster than nature. And that's the frustrating part, but the mushrooms can teach us that, to just move at their speed. We want to help you however we can. Obviously, having you on the podcast for people to listen is a great start. But there's anything we can do, we want to help, because it's just such an awesome story. And I'm really intrigued to know, like, your daughter, what a badass. She's surfing, and I read a little bit about her dog Babette, is it? Her dog that can detect seizures. Mm-hmm. What's she like? You know, she's a 10-year-old. I have a 10-year-old boy. Rashad's got some youngins. I think you got you have a 10-year-old?
Yeah, I got an 8-year-old.
Okay, so kids are amazing. Like, what's she like? You know, what does she like to do when she's just being a kid?
Lily likes the adrenaline rush. Like her mommy.
That's
nice. So, you know, she gravitates towards these sports that make her feel, right? And so she likes to surf because she gets that rush. She horse rides because she gets that rush. She is currently skateboarding on Wednesdays at Ryan Sheckler's training facility in San Clemente.
Wow.
It's a Red Bull training facility, and she's out there skating with her coach Adrian. And, you know, that's Lils. Like, she's a fighter. You know, my daughter, with what I've seen Lily go through, I haven't earned the right to have a bad day. I am just so proud of her, and I look up to her. She inspires me. Her resilience and the way that she handles herself is just incredible. She's one of the kindest humans that I've ever met. You never see Lily angry. The only time you see her angry is when she's having a seizure and she's fighting. She doesn't let it take her. She will start talking through her seizure. She'll start trying to repattern her brain. It's incredible to watch. She doesn't let it take her down. You know, she fights it. She fights it right to the end, you know.
That's amazing.
I just think that she's an incredible human and will do incredible things and is an inspiration for others.
So what does she feel about all of this? Like, I mean, she's got a following now. You know, she's been really doing something quite amazing, and because of that, she's affected so many other people in such a positive way. I mean, that has to feel amazing for a 10-year-old.
I think that, Lily, she still has speech delays. That was really the one piece for us having so many seizures. Her receptive language is of developmental age, so she understands everything, but her communication piece is still trying to catch up,
Okay.
and it is, which is incredible. I tell her all the time what she's done and what she's doing for others. When I flew back from Chicago after we won the college Emmy for best short nonfiction film for our documentary Lily, I walked in the door with the Emmy and said, "Lily, you just won an Emmy."
Yeah.
Like, how incredible are you?
Wow.
And she went, "Yay!"
So, I mean,
So I think that she understands it. Communicating, what she feels about it is still catching up. But her siblings think she's incredible. It has affected her siblings. Just so deeply in their souls that they're just incredible humans. They're just incredible. They're going to do incredible things because they have an empathy and drive that can't be learned. Siblings of kids that have severe medical conditions or disabilities, they're just kind humans. They're inclusive.
Yeah, they sure are. Yeah, I just think this is just so fascinating to me. I mean, just the whole journey in general, and then to do it with functional mushrooms, and to really just trust in that. You know what I'm saying? And to really step out in a way, and just take everything on your shoulders, and that's a lot. That is a lot to do. So my question is, what are the mushrooms like? What are they? There's lion's mane, there's cordyceps, there's reishi, there's turkey tail. Like what are you giving her specifically?
Shiitake.
Yeah, shiitake. There's a bunch of different ones. What are you giving her? What's the blend?
She's on 7 different types, right?
Okay.
All of those that you mentioned: shiitake, maitake, cordyceps, lion's mane, reishi, right? But it was never my intention to have her on the blend. When I was studying mushrooms, I had decided I really wanted to start Lily on lion's mane and reishi. They were the two I was focusing on. Lion's mane, obviously, for the neurogenesis benefits, cognitive gains, and then the reishi I thought could potentially be a really good anticonvulsant. I did find a small study to back up that claim. I felt if I could pair the two, it might be a match made in heaven. When I then started looking at the supplement industry and researching supplement companies, and this is going back into the quality stuff, right? There were not as many companies around 3 years ago as there are now. The industry has exploded since then. But it took me some time to really figure out what is a mushroom product? What am I now looking at, right? What if I'm going to give this to my daughter as medicine, what do I need from a product? And as you know, I spent a bit of time, flying around keynoting last year to industry about that, because when families are coming for medicine, they need these quality things, right?
Yeah.
Organic, microbiome tested, pesticides tested, right? There's a list of them, heavy metals tested. I had decided it was down to 2 companies that I wanted to use. And then a friend just dropped by, hadn't seen him in 8 months. He had no idea I was researching mushrooms for Lily. And he said, "Hey, I've been on mushrooms for 2 years. I have been taking this supplement. I feel incredible. I think it would help you with like the PTSD from Lily's condition." And he handed me a packet, and it was what I had up on my computer. And it was a blend of 7 mushrooms. And when I looked at the actual product, it had lion's mane and reishi in it. And I felt like I was being given the golden ticket. And I didn't mess with it. I trusted my gut and I went, this is it. This is the product. I know I was not planning on having her on a blend, but the plan changed.
Yeah.
You were
And
shown
I'm
the
glad we
plan.
did. Yeah.
The
Show
mushrooms
us the
came and said,
plan.
"Here
What's the
you
new plan?
go. You're on the right track, lady." You,
Yeah.
Sarah, I must say, are a badass also, and I'm inspired by you as a mother. Watching my wife mother and be a parent to our children, and just mothers in general. You know, your daughter, your other children, and what they have. It obviously comes from you mostly. So congrats to you for being a badass mama bear that's going to fight and find out and research and continue to push this so other people can find some relief. So I gotta say that, and then ask you too, like, what do you like to do yourself? I mean, you're busy, right? You're busy. I don't know. Did you paint that
Oh,
beautiful picture behind you,
I
or what?
did. It fell off the wall.
You painted that?
I did. I'm
Wow.
working on this one now. It's not exactly finished, but yeah, I like to do stuff. I'm a water skier. I'm a snow skier. I don't surf. I started surfing, but I didn't do that until I got here because there's too many great whites where I come from. It's a real thing. I like skydiving. Anything, right? Anything with adrenaline is pretty much where you'll find me. Painting's probably the thing that really I can lose my most time in. I could probably
Yeah.
paint for hours, and it's really therapeutic for me, and I love it. Um,
You're good too. That's a
I don't
beautiful
clean
painting.
around in the kitchen while I'm making dinner. So I'm multitasking. I don't have enough time to do those things, but I'm trying to definitely carve out some time for sure. Um, yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So where do you see um, Lily's Lighthouse in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, we'll have the retrospective study done. Then I'm probably looking at a preclinical study from there. That's what I'm currently fundraising for. Then hopefully the publications that we'll have from that will get enough attention from the medical community. I'm hoping that research will then be picked up, and then I can pivot a little bit. Um, I would like the future of Lily's Lighthouse to look a little bit different from what it does now.
Yeah.
Um, one of the I guess upsides of having a disability amongst your family is being privy to the amazing services that are available out there. And these services, things like surf therapy with a physical therapist or occupational therapist, horse therapy, art therapy, these are all traditional approaches to healing people or helping them with their cognitive gains, but in a non traditional environment. Okay. Now, we've seen really great successes with Lily and huge gains with her along our journey. And, unfortunately, these kind of services and therapies are expensive to access. They're not covered by most insurances. A seizure alert dog like Babette costs $20,000. But when we got Babette, our whole dynamic of our family changed. We were given our lives back. Before we had her, we couldn't leave Lily alone. She was having so many seizures. Then when we had Babette, we could leave Lily in a room with her and know 100% if Lily was going to have a seizure, Babette would bark and we'd be able to come in and assist her. So these are really incredible tools and services that are
Yeah.
out there, but a lot of families can't access them. And I would like Lily's Lighthouse to try and bridge the gap so that other families can access these amazing tools. So I think the future of Lily's Lighthouse along the lines of once we get this fundamental research done that will result in a therapeutic, we may still be doing research. I think there's a lot once we get that done. I think there's a lot more research to be had, but I would like to pivot and also encompass helping others access these alternative therapies. So that's where I
Yeah.
see
That's
the future of
beautiful.
Lily's Lighthouse. I want to be able to give dogs to families that can't afford it. I want to be able to grant kids surf lessons weekly for a year with an occupational therapist.
Yeah.
Right? I want to get these kids on the books and provide them these services.
Yeah, just hearing you talk and just hearing what these functional mushrooms can do, um, I'm all on board for the functional mushroom train, but I'm getting even more interested in just kind of thinking about like, where can I find this protocol? Like, where do I find this protocol? Where do I find this information that you're able to find as far as like what I should be looking for in mushroom companies? Because I'm sure a lot of other people listening would love to know like how could they understand more about mushrooms just from a quality standpoint for one, but then also from a dosage standpoint. Because I mean, this I feel like if I got on a good protocol, I mean, it might be able to help me in ways that I can't even imagine right now because I don't really truly know how much I have lost just through just because of the sport that I've been doing for so long and all the damage and all the knocks to the head that I take. And um, it's really got me curious. So, I mean, if you could just expand on anything I just said, that'd be great.
Sure. I mean, anyone can come to our website, lilieslighthouse.org. We are an incredible resource of information. You can read all about Lily's story on there. You can read all about my Art for a Cause program. I sell all my paintings to make money for Lily's Lighthouse. We have a mushroom page that links a lot of studies, and they're hyperlinks. You can click on them, and they will take you to these study pages through PubMed. We have linked some products to our website that we back and we believe in are quality supplement products. And I want people to be really, really mindful that there are a lot of rubbish products out there. Mushroom supplements, any supplements are not regulated by the FDA. They are not created equal. And don't tell me that you went to Sprouts and bought a bottle and tried it out and mushrooms didn't work for your son for epilepsy. Do your research, find your products, and give them a proper go if you're going to. Don't do this half-heartedly, right? If you're going to do it well. And we want to be able to be that kind of resource too. People are able to contact me directly. My email's on there, my cell's on there. You can come to me if you have looked through my website first, please. And then if you have other questions, come to me. I'm here. I want to help, you know? I'm happy to help. I want to be that resource for people.
What comes to mind is like if I had a child who's having seizures and I want to give him mushrooms or her mushrooms, they're on all these other pharmaceuticals or other seizure meds. Can I just introduce those mushrooms to them straight up with the seizure meds and not worry?
Well, with the dosing question that Rashad had, I have listed what I did with Lily and the protocol that I did with Lily on the website. I have to be very careful about giving medical advice because I am not a medical professional. I am just a mother that figured this out, that figured out something that works, right? Now, in saying that, I really piloted off a dosing schedule surrounding the results that came out of the CBD studies, and the realm of caring were really pivotal in the CBD research, which was driven by two little kids with epilepsy, right? So they are very well entrenched in the epilepsy community and have a great experience and resource with epilepsy. And so they found that in order to mitigate any interactions, dosing 2 hours outside of any pharmaceuticals was the best way to do that. That's what I applied to Lily. That's what I suggest is probably the best methodology. You work off protocols that you've seen work before.
Good answer. Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, I mean, a lot of people hear mushrooms and they immediately think psychedelics, illegal mushrooms. Please kind of just talk about, the functional mushrooms, being completely legal and not going through the red tape or nothing like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, and I think that, again, this was really a topic of conversation that came up with the CBD issue as well. When that was first rolled out for kids with epilepsy, there was a really big stigma around it. People thought that these kids were being given, cannabis, marijuana, which wasn't truly a true representation of what was happening. I am getting exactly the same. It's an educational piece that over time will evolve and solidify. Functional mushrooms do not have any psychotropic element to them. They do not have the psychotropic element that makes you hallucinate or high. They are adaptogens and used for medicinal purposes. And I think these mushrooms teach the body how to heal itself. That's what I think they do from a personal standpoint. But no, they are not illegal. You wouldn't be able to buy them in a supplement bottle if they were.
I think them as nutritional. They're more nutritional than supplemental.
They are a food. They are the most nutrient-dense food on the planet.
Yes.
These are some of them you can go down and buy at your supermarket. A lot of them you can, especially now there's a whole specialty line with Lion's Mane and others.
Yeah.
So, I really want to bring that to the forefront of conversation. People are always saying to me, "Oh, you got Lily on psychedelics." No, I don't. No. So, I just think it's a lack of education, right? We just need to be out there a little bit more and talking about it a bit more and educating people on mushrooms, because people don't really know. When they think about mushrooms, they just think of magic mushrooms. It's just a lack of education. It'll come along, and in the meantime, families that do the reachsearch know that they're using non-psychedelic mushrooms.
Yeah.
For sure. But actually in saying that, I have, when I launched Lily's Lighthouse, I did have multiple families come out of the woodwork saying their kid was on hospice and last ditch effort, they started microdosing and their kids have been healed and seizure free.
Wow. Now, when you say microdosing, is that you're referring to the medicinal mushrooms, like the psilocybin mushrooms?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if there's any credibility to the anecdotal stories that have been told to me, but there's no reasons really, or no payoff that families would get from seeking me out and letting me know. Do I think that our mushroom research will go there someday for epilepsy and other conditions? Yes, I do. I believe so. I think it's a natural progression of research eventually, after functional mushrooms has been exhausted in a research capacity. I know this because when they started doing the clinical trials for CBD and epilepsy, they found if they added small amounts of THCA, which is the psychotropic element of the marijuana plant, it was somehow giving the patients better seizure control, right? So maybe that would happen too with psilocybin. I don't know, but we're not there yet, right? That's a future podcast conversation for sure. But I think if we're projecting, 10, 15, 20 years down the track, I think that it will be there for sure.
Awesome. I think that's amazing, because there's so many people, like, they're kind of, I guess, experimenting with the microdosing and kind of figuring it out, and really that understanding of mushrooms and the difference between the two is still a great area for a lot of people, and it kind of intimidates them a lot of the time and keeps them from even trying it in general, just because of the fact that they just don't know.
Yeah, and I think that that's the research capability, right? That's when people start having more conversation, when research papers come out, right? It legitimizes it. And so I think that will just be part of it. You guys have seen how much the industry's, exploded just in the last 3-4 years, and I think in another 4 years it will be more, it will be more of a mainstream conversation, and people will know a lot more about it and be better educated for sure.
We have so many movie stars talking about their psychedelic trips instead of talking about their health and function, or maybe sharing the story of Lily. It's like the news can be the worst thing for us when one bad trip is headline news, but your journey with Lily, you have to dig and dig to find such a remarkable story. And so, that's part of what we're trying to do with this cause-driven company in Umbo, is bring you and people that are doing the real work, and having gone through all of these hardships and times of tough times, not sleeping for 2 years and having a daughter with seizures, like help bring you up to like, hey, everybody, listen, look what's going on around you. Not just this one bad trip that's publicized on the front page of the news or headlines of the news in the evening, but all the good that is happening behind, not just psilocybin, because there are it's definitely something to be considered, but functional mushrooms that are legal and have been here used for centuries. Mm-hmm. So what you're doing is really the work that is necessary as we stand and have guests on and do our part. What you're doing, Sarah Kate, I tip my hat to you and thank you for being a badass mama bear, like I say, out there leading the charge to let people know what's up.
Well, thank you for that. I think that Unlimited Sciences really have those same values, and the ROC the same. It was founded on these result-driven values and morals of helping and learning, and really bringing conversation to the table. When we partnered with Unlimited Sciences and the ROC on this retrospective study, we felt incredibly blessed. It was, for us, a dream come true, because I think we are just all like-minded individuals, and the nonprofits reflect that. And the way that our relationship came organically and authentically, we were going to gravitate towards each other anyway. I think there's real power in assembling a team that way, right? So I'm really excited about the outcomes of this study with this 3 nonprofit collaboration. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah. Listening to you speak and everything like this, it's so good. And that's why I was so excited about this podcast, is because, being on the functional mushroom side of things, and really trying to get people to understand the power of functional mushroom, because it has done so much for me. But it's hard to really convey that to somebody. But when you hear a story like this, and you hear it really, taking away my ails and my uncomfortable things is one thing, but being able to show up like this at such, for a serious case like epilepsy, and something that, allopathic medicine can't help. That's amazing. And I feel like that, hearing stories like this is like one of those things where, if you're listening and at home, you're just like, dude, I had no idea how powerful functional mushrooms can be and what it really can do. Because if this is doing this for Lily's brain, imagine what it could be doing for somebody who doesn't have all the problems such as Lily, with as far as neurologically speaking,
Yeah. And that's one of the most beautiful things that I love about mushrooms is, we put 50 of us on mushrooms before we gave it to Lily. We wanted to see how we felt on it, what it did to us. We didn't want to perceptually do anything to harm Lily. We all felt incredible. It's very well documented, epilepsy families suffer really severely from PTSD. It is like being at war. It's like a bomb go off. My little two would pop a balloon or drop a book on the floor, and I'd say to my husband, oh my gosh, It is not going to be Lily's seizures that kill me. It's going to be that. Like, they are going to drop a book and I'm going to have a heart attack. I'm going to die. And so, you know, when we put ourselves on functional mushrooms, I said to my husband, I feel like a better version. I feel like I'm pre-Lily. It's kind of realigned my brain completely. I feel like a better version of myself, and I'm going to go and I'm going to get this done. We have everybody we know on functional mushrooms. Everybody's taking Lily's blend. Everyone feels incredible. I just had one of Lily's teachers yesterday tell me, oh, did I tell you that my daughter hasn't been on her ADHD medicine for 1.5 years now? She's been taking Lily's mushrooms. She feels great. I'm like, no. And you come here every day.
Wow.
So why don't you tell me that?
That's
but
awesome.
yeah, we've seen.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, are they using the same protocol? Are they using the same dosage protocol, or are they kind of taking it something
Just
less?
once a day. Yeah, just once a day. But
Okay.
you know, we get
Okay.
this from everybody. What I love about this, and when families come to me and, you know, I tell them, put your whole family on this. Do it together. For the first time, you can actually feel how your kid feels on this treatment. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you can heal together as a family unit. When you're talking about a family dynamic with medically critical children, the divorce rate is well into the 90s. These families are barely surviving, right?
Yeah.
So if you can put them all on this and do it together as a community, then the chances are you're going to be better. You're going to be better personally and be able to be better involved in your family and heal as that unit. And I think there's something beautiful in that. And you know, people don't think about that when they talk about, oh, Lily's on the mushrooms. No, everybody should be on functional mushrooms. My husband says people that are not taking functional mushrooms are at a major disadvantage.
Yeah, it's so true, because I mean you have, you know, when you start to get on the regimen and you start to feel what the regimen can do for you, you're just like, wow, this is quite impressive. But I mean, as we get older, we don't get stronger. We get weaker, and we get weaker in the area that is probably the most important to us, which is neurologically. We get all decrepit. We get delayed in the way that we move, physically speaking. We get delayed in the way that we think. And it sounds like, you know, being able to take these functional mushrooms can kind of roll back and kind of clear out some of that neurological gunk that kind of gets in there, that kind of binds us up as we get older.
Yeah, I believe that for sure. I feel incredible. You know, I didn't actually realize how bad I felt, I think, because I'm a very fit person. You know, I have law enforcement background. That drove me to work out daily. I've always been that kind of person, very active, you know, so it's not like I didn't look after myself or look after my body. I was doing all the right things, you know, in order to put myself in the best position. But for me, functional mushrooms, they really healed a lot of the trauma that I had suffered from Lily, right? And a lot of that traumatic response that you get. And I just feel great. Like I think it does really rewind the clock for sure. Definitely.
Yeah.
And I don't care what I look like on the outside. I feel good. So even as I get older, if I can just feel like this, I don't care. It can all go to shit. Excuse my French. As long as I feel like I'm 20,
That's
I'm good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amen.
I feel you.
I think that it's a phenomenal thing that's happening through the connectivity of mushrooms with the mycelium and what they are doing without us knowing, what is happening above ground with us connecting with you, with Mia being connected with Rashad, with Dell, as we all connect and we hear stories of healing that you're shared with us today. You know, in closing, I just have to be grateful for the mushrooms, for the fungi. Like you said, to feel good on the outside, or feel good on the inside, whatever you look like on the outside, we're all connected.
Mm-hmm.
And our sharing of our stories and our energies and our love and our passion and our kindness and our generosity and our willingness to share and to help people, and for you to hear the teacher say her daughter is offer ADHD medicine, that's worth it right there. Just that. So with that, thank you, Sarah Kate. Rashad, great job. But thank you, Sarah Kate, for joining us today to share your remarkable journey of healing for not only your daughter, but like you said, for yourself. We are privileged and honored to have you on the show. And please share with our listeners where they can find, you said lilieslighthouse.org, and any other tags or any other places they can go to find.
Yep, go to our website and subscribe. We're also on Instagram and Facebook. We'll be actually giving public access to Lily, the documentary, over the next 2 weeks. So make sure you're linked into us. Connect with us, and so that you don't miss that launch. And I think you're right, Jake. When I look at life, it's all about meaningful connections, which we all had when we first met, and meaningful pursuits, right? And helping each other. And that really is what I'm about. And I know you guys are about, and I feel very grateful and blessed to have been on this podcast with you today. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, that's another episode of Suga Snake Takes. I hope you enjoyed it. Keep following us on Instagram and subscribing to our newsletter at getumbo.com, and connect with people out there so that people know we got to share these stories. So everybody keep connecting with the person next to you and keep sharing some beautiful stories of healing and just loving life. So thanks for joining us today. That's a wrap.
Peace, love, and mushrooms.
Peace, love, and mushrooms. Rashad, you got me. All right.